So
Have you studied the Hermetics at all?
No.
Ah. Are you interested in
Yes.
Have you heard about them at all, of
Sure.
this thing?
Please.
Have you heard of a book called The Kabbalion?
No.
Well, this should be right up your street. The Hermetics were Egyptians. It's where the Freemasons came from, and the alchemists and the people in the Middle Ages who preserved, the culture when the Dark Ages came. And the Hermetics comes from Hermes Trismegistus, Hermes thrice great, who was supposedly the wisest man or avatar or god from the Egyptian period. And the Kabbalion was their book. I don't know if the actual Kabbalion still exists. There are I have like one little short book of it, but they had a whole deep philosophy that is a lot like this. You want me to talk about this for a second?
Sure, yeah, please.
I mean, there were I think the Hermetics had like 7 principles. I'll see if I can remember what they are. The first one is that you and I have no physical existence as entities. We exist entirely as thoughts in the mind of the all, or God. Sort of like the analogy they use is like in the mind of Dickens is Mr. Micawber and Pip and David Copperfield and all that. And that you and I only exist as thoughts in the mind of God. And they believe that the universe was entirely mental. That's what this was. That there really is no physical existence. And that it was all vibrational. And that one of the things they believed was that there's no such thing as opposites. Heat and cold are not opposites. Fear and courage are not opposites. They are just points on a continuum. And that the difference between fear and courage is entirely in the vibration. And so this is where the alchemy came in. They believed that if they could change their vibration or change the vibration of lead, that they could change it into gold. And they had, the other things was, everything vibrates. The other thing was that everything swings on a pendulum. Everything goes back and forth from one thing to another. And they also believe that everything is male and female, that everything is created comes from the union of male and female in the highest levels. Anyway, it's great shit. And, at one point, apparently, in ancient Egypt or before that, this was, this was what they believed, and it somehow got wiped out or just held on in various little pockets of the occult knowledge and stuff like that. So it's the ancient Hermetics, and the book is the Kabbalion, Kybalion.
I think there
fascinating shit.
I think there are many cultures that were tapping into this at some point in time.
Even Joe Dispenza that I was talking about before, what he talks about is when you get to that state of no mind, no thing, no presence, that the only thing that exists is vibration and consciousness. And that would be straight out of Hermetic philosophy.
Yeah, those reoccurring themes, they exist in so many cultures.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that Graham Hancock brings up that's really fascinating is that as we develop more of an understanding of human evolution, we realize that anatomically similar humans, we go far back far further than we originally thought. With the original assessment was that remember when I was in high school, they thought it was like 50,000 years ago. Like that anatomical humans sort of emerged 50,000 years ago, and then human civilization emerged like 6,000 years ago. And now they're finding all this evidence of advanced civilization, like Göbekli Tepe, which is this uncovered site in Turkey, this massive structure that existed 11,000 something years ago. And this was the first ever thing that they could date that they know for sure is older than the pyramids by quite a bit, at least older than the conventional dating of the pyramids. And so there was advanced civilization that was capable of building these immense, huge structures, giant pillars with these huge stone things that had cut into them reliefs of animals that were three-dimensional, which is very complicated because instead of carving them into the stone, they carved the stone around them. So they had like these lizards and these creatures that were crawling up these stones that they had moved they'd cut the stone out. And we're talking about like 20-foot tall, massive hundreds of tons. I mean, I don't know how big, how much these things weighed. Huge things, like very advanced people that were capable of construction methods, and they did these concentric circles with these things, and they don't know why they did it. They don't know what they were doing with them, but that if anatomically similar humans existed 500,000 years ago, that gives them so much time to evolve and become that. And this catastrophe theory sort of makes sense because there was probably some really advanced thinking and really advanced science that we don't totally understand, because our science has gone in this sort of industrial age, technological direction, whereas their science probably went in a completely different direction, concentrating on vibrations of things and sound and probably some lost technology that we don't understand yet, but we may in the future, and that'll probably put the pieces together. But it's taken us thousands and thousands of years to relearn things that perhaps these people that lived 10,000, 20,000 years ago had already figured out.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about somebody like LeBron James, somebody that is at a level, right, an amazing level. What if there were guys like this that were thinkers and philosophers or meditators or whatever they were, and they were at that level of being able to tap into whatever it is, vibration, we don't know anything about it, right?
The elite of thinkers. Yeah.
What could they do?
Right.
Particularly, I mean, it always seemed to me crazy that the human race only goes back 150,000 years or 300,000.
Yeah.
It can't be right. It can't be right that there was, just only the great apes, and all of a sudden 300,000 years ago or 150,000 years ago, it doesn't make sense to me.
There was a recent discovery. I'll send this to Jamie. They found evidence that human beings were cooking fish 700,000 plus years ago. Which is really
that makes
wild.
a lot of sense.
Oh yeah, it's here. I'll send this to Jamie. It's really wild.